The tank is full, the engine's humming. Those wide open roads are beckoning. So sit back and get ready for Motoring 88. Brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. This week on Motoring 88.
Sometimes it happens so fast that you have to just say, look, trust me, come to me, I have a story.
It's a shame that the people watching can't experience how smooth and soft the ride is.
In this plant, Brad, we don't have assembly lines. We have what we call automatic guided vehicles.
Hello everybody and welcome to Motoring 88. This week we're at the General Motors Truck Assembly Plant in Oshawa, Ontario. And later on we're going to visit the plant and see how the old assembly line is becoming a thing of the past. What with all this new state-of-the-art technology. And speaking of technology, you know, car racing is becoming more technical with every passing year. And Steve Grant has a story on how television is using its own technology to keep up with the fast pace on the track.
Racing fan, this is where you want to be, but at a road circuit such as the one here for the Molson Indy in Toronto, it's almost impossible to capture all the action. But that's where television comes in.
CTV again this year was the host broadcaster for the Molson Indy, with NBC airing the race on a tape delay basis. The networks brought along an army, and the hardware was equally impressive. A total of 20 cameras, including 3 in-car perspectives and a blimp shot. Tom Hastings is responsible for bringing the entire package to air.
Once race day hits, my specific function is just to more or less oversee the entire operation, make sure that everything is going smoothly, everybody's doing their job. I'll take control of our pit announcers. In other words, I'll be in communication with them, and whenever they have anything that they want to sell to us to go over the air, they'll go through me, and I'll pass it on to the producer.
Well, I'm responsible for our replays, designation on videotape, the Chiron coordination with the director to let him know that certain Chirons are there and available, as well as organizing my 4 announcers.
Fittipaldi really enjoys driving the Indy cars. You'll ask him about how it compares with Formula One. He says, oh, in Formula One.
30 seconds. How much time to agree? A lot of time? Get your Coke.
Do we have Coke anywhere? We're in a wall. We don't have that.
Well, we had it on program. Program? Queue up on program, please. We are presently doing the following. We will recreate Act 4. We'll probably end up having to do it.
That's what the marathon's television is about.
We've added a couple cameras, and as I say, to the average viewer, it may not really be something that they can notice, but to the expert, they would. And that being our pits, where we've enhanced our pit coverage. We've gone from 1 to 2 cameras down there, and they're RF cameras, meaning radio frequency, allowing the camera to move about without any cables, and with that freedom, they can cover the pits thoroughly. And in Indy car racing, especially, well, in any Indy car race, the pit stops are really a crucial part of the race, and it's got to be covered thoroughly, and you really need the 2 cameras. So we've gone to an extra camera this year.
The metering system.
It's fuel management problem. There's a computer chip that...
That's a new role for me. I've done it once before in my life, but basically the job is simply be aggressive and push and get the information when it's happening, really. You have to get in there, talk to the crews, find out what's happened, why this car is pulled into the pits, why this car is out of the race, and pass that on to the audience.
I think the neat thing about working pit road is you get to see the race unfold from a different perspective than, let's say, on the top side in the booth or in the grandstands. You don't get the luxury of seeing the whole racetrack or seeing what's going on there via monitors, so you're more like a reporter.
It was awful damn close.
Well, second place is kind of, as they say, like kissing your sister, and for Danny Sullivan, it's not something that he really likes.
And the key, too, is, I think, is to always remember to get in and get out. Anything you can do in less than 30 seconds, I think, is a good report. Anything over that, it better have some real heavy substance, or don't do it at all.
We've got Mario Andretti here, camera 14. Reading, Chuck, right here, Mario Andretti on 14.
Basically, your job is to go get the story and then sell the producer on the idea of the story. So, say Mario Andretti pulls into the pits, he's got a problem, they repair it, he's back out on the track. Now I've got to sell the producer on the idea of what the story I have, so he'll put me on the air.
Oh boy, if I knew how to sell stories, I think I would probably do a better job in the pits. It's so intense, and you have to rely on the people in the truck, the producers and the directors, to be able to trust your judgment, because sometimes it happens so fast that you have to just say, look, trust me, come to me, I have a story. They pulled the bonnet, and now it looks as if they're going to try and reprogram the computer chip within it. It's going to cost them a lot of laps. He's out of the hunt for the victory here in Toronto. That's going to be tough after he scored the one in Cleveland. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of media people tend to read their own press releases and tend to begin to think that they're a star rather than a star maker. And I think it's important that you always remember that you're there to cover the event, and if you've done a good job, people don't remember the job you did, they remember the event. And that's what I try to do.
You always look at your criticism, and I think probably one of the greatest criticisms is that you missed that, or you missed this, or you're on that too long. And it's a tough game to really satisfy. I want to make sure that the viewer gets all the racing that's going on. I want to make sure that the information that we fed them from our spotters through to the producer, to the announcers, has really made everyone feel like, wow, I've watched a race and that was awesome coverage. I don't think I missed a thing. And if we can do that, well then we deserve our A+.
But we're not here to stand around talking about the Jag, because the real fun is on the road.
Next on Motoring 88, a little bit of luxury.
Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. The engine in the new Quaker State Porsche Indy car develops 750 horsepower. That's why it takes Quaker State oil with new QSX to protect it. At 11,000 RPM, engine temperatures soar. Quaker State's new advanced QSX formula is proven to run clean for unbeatable protection. And the new QSX formula that protects this engine on the track is the same Quaker State you buy right off the shelf. Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
What exactly does Nissan mean by hard body truck? Well, let's say you want a V6 engine. A powerful V6 engine. What exactly does Nissan mean by hard body truck? Well, let's say you want to help someone move.
Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
It's a shame that Brad's not with me this week, because we're looking at a true classic, the 1988.5 Jaguar XJS. Now, it's at the business end that you appreciate the Jag for what it is, because underneath the hood is one of the very few V12 engines still being used in the automotive industry today. As you can see, this engine is really shoehorned under the hood. Now, we do not recommend this for your backyard mechanic, because you can't even see the plugs, let alone try and reach them. However, in the toolkit you'll find a spark plug wrench, and I say good luck to anybody that wants to attempt to use it. But we're not here to stand around talking about the Jag, because the real fun is on the road. The first thing that hits you about this Jag is when you close the door, it's amazing how much of the outside world is shut out. Very, very quiet in here. Being a V12, you can hardly hear it purring, and you have to rev it up on occasion just to make sure it's still running. Jaguar is not a company to go changing things willy-nilly. If they've got something good, they stick with it. That's witnessed by the fact that the V12 was first introduced around 1971, so it's a fairly ancient engine, although when you drive it on the road and the performance and everything else, you'd never know it. It's a shame that the people watching can't experience how smooth and soft the ride is, even some of the bigger bumps in the road you float across. Let's now go back to the skid pad and put the XJS through its paces. This week we're not going to bother with the pylons, because it's just not fair to put a car of this status through that sort of punishment. However, we are going to do the 0 to 100 kilometer time and put the ABS system through its paces. With this vehicle being over 4,000 pounds, I'm not looking for anything too spectacular in the 0 to 100 kilometer range. Well, That's 11 seconds, which for a 4,000 pound car is quite good. But then again, you don't buy this sort of car to go racing in. As I mentioned earlier, this Jaguar now features anti-lock brakes. So it'll be interesting to see how well this system works, because in other Jags that I've tested that doesn't feature anti-lock brakes, I wasn't that impressed. Let's throw the anchors out and see how quick she stops. Whoa, that is good. That was 29, so it's going to be well under 100 feet to bring it to rest from 80 kilometers an hour. Jaguar have done a fantastic job inside of the Jag. The leather Recaro seats feature a bottom warmer for those cold winter mornings. The radio won't work in anybody else's car because it features a security lock, and there's no plastic here. That's real walnut veneer. With all of the elegance of the interior, it's here that you'll find this week's pet peeve. This car features telescopic steering, and with it in the down position you can reach both the turn signal and the wiper levers with ease. But if you use the telescopic function, it moves the levers out of your reach, and so you have to take your hand off the wheel to use them. That aside, let's go to the scoreboard and see how I rated the rest of this fantastic car. The Jaguar, with its new anti-lock brake system, is as good gets. In short, a vast improvement, and so another very high 8 out of 10. Despite the lines, the Jag is not a sports car. It did handle fairly well, but what impressed me most of all is its totally unflustered ride. As far as acceleration is concerned, the Jaguar is best described as adequate. However, when you consider that you're trying to motivate 4,000 pounds of vehicle, the 12 cylinders do a relatively good job. Inside, you're treated to almost total peace and quiet. In fact, on a number of occasions, I had to rev the engine to make sure it was still running. At a little over 16 miles per gallon, the Jaguar is a very thirsty car. However, if you can afford the car and you like the elegance that it offers, the mileage should be immaterial.
What are a pair of ski boots doing on Motoring 88? Find out later on Behind the Wheel.
Up next on Motoring 88, Inside the Brakes.
Up now, our favorite mechanic, Bill Gardner, and right here is one of his favorite toys, and I wonder when the last time Bill saw an engine this clean. Anyway, this week, Bill isn't going to talk about engines. He's going to conclude his two-part series on the brakes.
Years ago, passenger cars had drum brakes on all four wheels, but the most typical setup today is disc brake on the front, as this 84 Buick has, and drum brakes on the rear. We're going to identify a few of the parts involved in that system today and just show you how they work. Here we have the wheel studs that secure the wheel to the rotor, and the disc brake rotor itself. Two surfaces separated by cooling fins that act as a cooling fan. They move air through the brakes to cool them. The brake pads, which are the other half of the friction team, along with the rotor. Those two generate the friction that's going to stop the car. The disc brake caliper and the high tensile bolt that secures the caliper to the spindle. I've loosened the two caliper high tensile bolts here. We're going to remove them and set them aside and lift the caliper and pad assembly right off the rotor. Turn it over. You can get a look here at the disc brake pad. There's the friction material on the brake pad here and here. And this particular one is made of asbestos, but many cars today have semi-metallic front disc brake pads. And at the back of the brake pad, we've got a little reed here riveted on. And when this brake pad is worn out, when the friction material wears away, this reed will contact the rotor and produce a high-pitched squealing sound. Here we've got a couple of disc brake pads. A brand new one, full lining thickness here, and a worn-out brake pad. You can see that the rivets are very close to contacting the rotor. Okay, with the brand new full-thickness disc brake pad, you can see that there's a nice gap between the sensor and the rotor, and that's the service life of your pad. With the worn-out pad, the rotor will contact the reed, producing that high-pitched squealing sound. Drum brakes are still the most popular system of applying brakes to the rear wheels of a vehicle. Here we have the brake drum and the brake shoes and the lining segment. This is the friction material that's bonded or riveted to that brake shoe. the wheel cylinder that converts hydraulic pressure into mechanical action, actually pushing the brake shoes out into the drum. And return springs here and here that pull the shoes back in after they've been applied. And a couple of hold-down springs that hold the shoes tight against the backing plate. Now, although most drum brake systems incorporate some kind of a self-adjusting feature, they don't always work properly. And it's a good idea to once a year inspect the brake system and check this adjustment. And if it's out of adjustment, you should manually override it, have a mechanic adjust this, and that's going to maintain a nice high, hard brake pedal and give you best braking efficiency and even wear on the brake shoes. It's a job for experienced personnel, as are many other operations in the brake system. Until next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 88.
And now, behind the wheel with Charlie Goodman.
Most knowledgeable skiers will spend anywhere from 1 to 10 or perhaps even more hours trying to find a ski boot that will give them the right mix of performance, safety, and comfort. And yet that same skier, when they come to buy a car, might spend as little as half an hour and make their choice purely based on something subjective, such as the shape of the car and the color. Well, we think that there's much more to it than that. All right, first let's check this sports car. Getting in the car was quite simple. However, once inside, I've discovered that I can't even depress the clutch, so there's a seat adjustment problem. Well, we'll move it up and we'll get that made correct. There we are, that's better. Clutch in and out, hands on the steering wheel very comfortably. But now I perceive that there is another problem. Because in a sports car, it's so important that the seat contain me against lateral motions from the G-forces, the seat has substantial side bolsters. Well, now there's such a narrow opening here that for me to get in and out presents somewhat of a problem. Perhaps a year or so of having to do this, that could become a little annoying. Here we have an intermediate sedan. Having adjusted this seat properly, just get it up here, there we are, you will notice that getting in and out is quite a bit simpler with this car. Again, the reason is that in a sedan, the side bolsters are not as prominent as they were in our sports car. It certainly helps if you have a car that offers a steering wheel that has a proper hand position placement. Here we are with spokes at the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock position where you can hook your thumbs over and actually turn the steering wheel using the leverage of your thumbs so that your hands can just relax around the wheel, giving very quick and easy access to these column stocks that have all of the other controls on them, lights, wash, flash, and what have you. Further, the steering wheel, I notice, offers an uninterrupted view of the gauges, which of course is very desirable in a car that should fit you properly. But all steering wheels are not created equal. This particular steering wheel has a feature that designers seem to be favorable with these days, in that instead of having spokes which they think blocks the view of these stocks, it invites me to hold my hands in a position very low on the steering wheel, which is actually not very efficient when it comes to maneuvering in a crisis. Mirrors. Every car should have 3 in order to eliminate blind spots as best as possible. Further, how convenient it would be if we had an adjuster located inside the car that we could correctly angle the mirrors without having to step out into the cold. Even an intermediate sized car such as this can offer a very spacious and usable trunk capacity. Another handy feature is to select a car with a trunk with a low sill, which makes it much easier to reach in and extract very heavy or very long objects. I'll let you in on a secret. The back seats fold down. Are you buying a gear shift car next time around? Join us next week on Behind the Wheel. We're going to do some shifting.
When Motoring 88 returns, General Motors from the inside.
Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. The engine in the new Quaker State Porsche Indy car develops 750 horsepower. That's why it takes Quaker State oil with new QSX to protect it. At 11,000 RPM, engine temperatures soar. Quaker State's new advanced QSX formula is proven to run clean for unbeatable protection. And the new QSX formula that protects this engine on the track is the same Quaker State you buy right off the shelf. Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
With me now is Larry Kirtley of General Motors. And Larry, first of all, thank you for having us here at this truck assembly plant, but I haven't seen an assembly line yet.
No, Brad, we don't have assembly lines here. We have what we call automatic guided vehicles, or we call those AGVs for short.
It looks interesting. Would you mind giving us a little tour?
I'd love to. Well, the plant is 2.7 million square feet. The old plant was 1.3 million. We added 1.4 million. That's a new body shop, a new phosphate system, a new paint shop. GM invested $566 million just in the truck plant, but the total Autoplex in Austria, they're going to invest $2 billion. On a good day, we can put through almost 1,000 trucks a day. We have 3,200 people in the workforce. 15% are ladies, the rest are men. We have quite a few skilled tradesmen because of technology in here. We had to hire new skilled tradesmen because of technology. It's a clean environment and it's a very quiet atmosphere.
Larry, we're obviously looking at an engine here, but tell us what's going on.
Well, what the operator here is doing is he's checking continuity. He's making sure that all the wires are hooked up properly. This area here is the last area before the engine is installed into the chassis. If there should happen to be a wire off there, it'll show up on the screen. For example, if there was a blue wire at the carburetor, and if it was off, the screen would say, check blue wire at carburetor. It's that good. In this plant, Brad, we don't have assembly lines. We have what we call automatic guided vehicles, or AGVs in short form. And what they do is they run off of a frequency wire in the floor and run by a main computer.
Larry, they seem almost to have eyes. They know when to stop.
Yes, the AGVs have what we call ultrasonic bumpers on them. That, in other words, it sends out a 4-foot beam, and if you walk in front of it, the beam will hit you and the vehicle will stop.
They look like robots to me.
Well, they are, Brad. These are what we call GMF40 robots. They're floor-mounted, and what they do is they do a precision weld on every cab. In the old traditional system where the man used to do the welding, by the end of the day, he'd have a sore back and he'd rob the customer of a good weld, where these robots do the exact same weld on every cab. And we use what we call the car track system, and they can locate the vehicle to within 1/5,000th of an inch, so you get a pretty accurate weld on every cab. 97% of all the welds in the body shop are done by the robots. Man does about 3%, so you can see we're going to get a pretty consistent weld on every vehicle. We're doing approximately 60 per hour, so that would give you somewhere around 1,000 units a day. In here is one of our rinse tanks. We have a 9-stage phosphate and dip rinse. Goes through 5 rinses and 4 dips, and this happens to be a DI rinse. You can see the vehicle is completely submerged in the fluid, making sure that all chemicals are washed off. There's approximately 90,000 gallons in this tank. And what we're looking at now is some GMF robots. They're the S200. We have 10 of those here. And what it's doing is robotically sealing the box and inside of the cab. About 45% of our sealing is done by robotics and the rest done by manual. The vehicle is coming in now into what we call the base coat module. And at this particular module, we spray the base coat, which is water-based paint. We're the only plant this side of the world which is using this particular kind of paint. It takes a robot about 4.5 minutes to apply 2 base coats of paint, and then it goes from there into the flash-off oven.
30 years ago, it was all manually. I guess it was all by hand. I've been spraying, what, for 24 years, 25 years? And it was all done by hand. That's an awful change. Yeah.
Do you have names for them?
Oh, we used to at one time. When they first started, I think they had, what's that? Laverne and Shirley, but now there's too many of them. There's 68 here. And I guess there's too many of them for to be named individual, I guess.
Lou, how long have you been working here at General Motors?
I'm in my 15th year. I'll have 15 years in October.
Has it really changed a lot?
Yes, it has, quite a bit. The job I'm doing right now, I haven't been on it that long, but I have worked on the drag chain line and had to pull guns down where I had to put in headlights. But that's all changed. They do that on the electrified monorail system now, which is quite better.
Are there more women getting involved,
I believe so. Yes, there are quite a few women into the plant now. When I started, the area that I was in, I was the only woman there. And now there's quite a few.
Well, I'm proud. You know, this is what I do for a living. Love every bit of it.
And you own one?
Oh, yeah. How else would I be without one of these?
A lot of pride.
Without the pride, I would not be working here.
Well, all is quiet as the day shift has come to an end, and so has another edition of Motoring 88. But I hope you enjoyed our tour of the General Motors truck assembly plant here in Oshawa. And here's some trivia for you. One full-size truck per minute comes off the assembly line out to you, the Canadian consumer. That's it for now. We want to thank General Motors for their cooperation, and we'll see you next week for more of Motoring 88.
If you have any questions or suggestions, drop us a line at Motoring 88, 379 Danforth Avenue, Toronto, M4K 1P1. Motoring 88 is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.